We know that neural networks are function approximators. So, for an example, in a supervised learning setting, given lots of inputs and lots of outputs as training data, a neural network is capable of finding the hidden mapping between those inputs and outputs. And it can also hopefully generalize its acquired knowledge to the unknown and unseen data in future, which is known as test data. Now look at this representation. So in this representation, we have a perceptron. So the perceptron in the diagram is capable of learning decision boundaries in a binary classification scenario. So for an example, if your inputs are one dimensional, we can actually visualize different parts of perceptron. Here in 1D diagram case, you can see that how the inputs and the bias is combined linearly using some weights and resulting in Z. Then you can see that we can apply some thresholding function on the top of this Z to create binary classification. And this classifiers outputs in +1 for the instance of one class and -1 for the instance of other class. This SGN-Z is sign function where if Z is greater than 0 then the output is 1, and if the Z is less than 0 then output is -1. Now you notice that input is in 1D. So this is our 1D input, and here the Z is computed using W1 X1 plus W0 like this. So our decision boundary where Z cuts through the input space, that is where Z is equal to 0, is a point, and it is 1D just like input data. So the total visualization here is one dimensional. So now we have to understand that I was discussing in the previous class what will happen whenever we have 2D inputs. So if you can see in this case, you will find that our input data is 2D. So now the Z will become a plane. Instead of a line, the Z is now become a plane. And Z is computed as here W1 x1 plus W2 x2 plus W0 like this. See what happens when Z cuts through this input space, that is in x1 x2 plane. The result is a line, and again that is a decision boundary, and it is where the Z is equal to 0, and again by applying SGN Z on Z we can generate +1 and -1. So for two instance classes on the data set. So here what we are going to visualize is that in case of previous class also I've discussed that it depends on the dimension on the input. Whenever we have 1D dimension, then we will have a separating plane which is a line. However, whenever we have 2D and more than that dimension for the input, then at that point of time we will get some hyperplane instead of a single classifier. So in that case, we will find these different situations. So you can visualize them. This red and green are the different classes. So now applying this concept, I will extend this concept further to Boolean function. Now let's discuss about this Boolean function. So if you look at this Boolean function, you will find that today I'm talking about linearly separable gates and about the gates which are non-linearly separable. Means if you look at the 2D input space of the Boolean functions, and we will find out this color positive examples for green and negative for red, then we can visualize that our training dataset will look like this. So now consider one AND gate where you can find that whatever we are getting, it is linearly separable between two classes green and red. So note that this yellow line is a decision boundary that can separate these two classes beautifully. And hopefully this neural network will be able to find such kind of boundaries. But now the same thing is applicable for OR gate, NAND gate and NOR gate. So whatever classes we have, whatever values we are having, they are linearly separable with a decision boundary. Now if you consider XOR gate, try to focus on this diagram. That is, whenever I'm talking about XOR gate, what will happen? We know that a single perceptron can learn any function as long as the instances of the dataset are linearly separable, like AND gate, OR gate, NAND gate, and NOR gate. But in this image, it is clear that the positive and the negative examples are not linearly separable. So, a perceptron can never find any line to separate them. However, if we have neural network with at least two layers of depth, then we could separate this XOR outcomes. So here we are performing classification on Boolean functions. So not every classification behaves similarly. So why we need neural network, and when we need single perceptron or when we need more than one layer for a neural network, it is important. So here the point is, whenever your data set is linearly separable, then I will employ a single perceptron and I can easily classify them. However, in case of XOR gate, or we have many kind of real life data set also where the outcomes cannot be classified, means the data sets are non-linearly separable. So at this point of time, we will increase number of layers, or we will increase the depth of the neural network. So here what I have done, here I have employed at least two layers of depth. So as a result, I have got these two boundaries by using which I can easily separate green and red ones. So that is the point I want to state. So here, whatever functionality we will use or whatever Python code we will write to classify this kind of Boolean functions, it will not be same for this kind of Boolean functions. So this is my point. Now today we will learn how we can train a single perceptron, or how we can teach a single perceptron so that we could create this classification for AND gate. So now here we have lots to discuss. First, try to understand, we know this kind of diagram. So today I'm talking about a single perceptron, and we know that here we will use sigmoid function. And in the previous class, I have discussed so many situations that where we can use sigmoid function, step function. Now I will discuss one point. So in this case, I have employed sigmoid function instead of step function, though it is a Boolean kind of activity that we are tracking today. So the reason is, during backpropagation, we need all the functions that we have used during the forward pass to be differentiable. Now, the step function is not differentiable as it breaks down at point 0. So this is the reason. So when its input is 0, at this point of time it is not differentiable. So I have used sigmoid function over here. So which is differentiable all across, and it is continuous in nature. So this is the point that I want to state. Now I have lots more point to explain. Here, apart from sigmoid function, I have used binary cross entropy function. Now we have to understand why we need this. First, I am explaining what is this binary cross entropy function. So this binary cross entropy loss is also called sigmoid cross entropy loss. So it is basically a sigmoid activation plus cross entropy. So unlike softmax loss, it is independent for each vector, means each class. The loss computed for every output vector component is not affected by any other components or any other values. So that is why it is used in multi-level classification, where the insight of an element belonging to a certain class should not influence the decision of the other class. So in case of classification, each and every time you have to remember this concept. So the influence of one class should not be reflected on any other class. So in that case, each time we have to use this kind of cross entropy loss scenario. So since we are dealing with binary values today, so I'm using binary cross entropy cost function. So now what is this cost function is about? So if you see this diagram, in this diagram, we see a pipeline for each one of the class that they are using. So in this case, in one word, what is this binary cross entropy loss? It is an error function that you can state. And it is nothing but a measurable difference between output of the ANN, which is known as here y hat, and the y, which is a ground truth. So it is basically tracking the difference between y hat and y. Here my point is, lower the value of this component, better the classification will be. So our intention is to minimize this loss function. So this is the point. But we know that here whatever we are using for forward propagation, we are using sigmoid function and everything. But whenever we are back propagating, then we need to track the loss. So now during back propagation phase, we have to perform two things. First, the derivative of the error with respect to y hat, that we have to find out. And also we have to find out the derivative of the output y hat with respect to z. That is derivative of the output of the sigmoid function with respect to the input of the sigmoid function, that is z. Now these are the two mathematical computation that I am showing over here, how we could find out the derivatives for the first case and for the second case. Now let's concentrate on the coding part. So now it is clear for us to implement this concept of AND gate using a single perceptron. You have to use the concept of sigmoid function as well as the concept of binary cross entropy function, so that each time you could find out what is the loss that is appearing, and each time we want to minimize this loss. Now how to code this one? Now see, I have created this one. Here we know that what we are doing in case of coding, importing the library files. So this is the very basic thing that we have to do. This much library functions we need. Now the next step is what? We have to build the data set. So in that case, we have to remember all time what dataset we are using. But nevertheless, here try to understand the main focus is how to design the cross entropy function and where to use them. So after this library function, now here I am building the dataset. So this is how I am building the dataset, and we know that we have to separate between the input and the output. So here x and y, these two variables are used for holding the input and as well as the output values for the AND gate. So now after building the data set, and I'm not explaining it because we know that for AND gate it will return 1 if and only if all of its inputs are positive. And now if we visualize this code, we will get this kind of scenario. So this is the code visualization. So here what we are getting two class red and blue. And this thing we have got after visualization. But try to follow this code stepwise. Look at this code very carefully, what I am doing over here. So I have discussed that we are going to design one neural network using single perceptron in Python. So here the most important thing that we are learning, that is, each time we have to derive a cross entropy factor. That is, in this code, both of these two functions are using two separate functions in Python, cross entropy and derivation cross entropy. So now, why these two things we are using? We know that we have to follow the two steps that I have explaining, that the first step is the derivative of the error with respect to the output y hat that we have to find out during backpropagation, and then in the second time we have to find out the derivative of the output of y hat with respect to z. So this is the thing that we are doing. And I'm not going into the details that how we are deriving that derivations. So here I'm actually defining the concept of cross entropy function. And here I'm creating the derivatives for cross entropy function. So you have to remember one point. Before building the data set, you just define the cross entropy function, the formula, and find out the derivative of the cross entropy function, and then build the data set. And then here what we are doing, I'm just creating the plots so that I could visualize the data points for the AND gate, and this kind of visualization that I'm getting. Now, next thing we know that to build a neural network, we have to initialize some weight. So in this case, if you remember this one, here I am performing the weight initialization. I have created all the documentation over here. And after weight initialization, try to follow the step. In the next step, we have to determine the number of epochs and the learning rate. So these two things we have to determine. So you can use trial and error method to fix up the epoch and the learning rate. But in generally 0.01 is a good learning rate. You can use it. And then finally, this entire code represents the training mechanism that I have already explained how to train a neural network for classification. So here what I am doing, each step I have defined over here as a documentation. So what we are doing, we are basically calculating Z, weight into input factor into bias, and afterwards we are computing some gradients, and then here we are updating the parameters using the computed gradients. Then we have to find out what is the outcome after every 500 epochs over here. And we are going to plot the value according to the class level. So here I have created the class level. And now if you use this code for training the data set, then what you will find this kind of visualization for four separate scenario. So this red and blue, they are separated via this black hyperplane. And also you have this kind of hyperplane, and also you can get this kind of hyperplane. So these are the different decision boundary that I am plotting. Whichever decision boundary you like, you can plot them. So for the four different cases, I have created the three types of decision boundary, because in beginning of the class I was talking about which decision boundary to use. It is very important. So basically in the training code, why it is so large? Because here actually I'm doing nothing. It is a simple thing, weight initialize. After weight initialization, I'm just calculating the cross entropy thing. But why it become large? Because over here I have used different plot functions to show different kinds of decision boundary. So you can use according to your choice. Then you will find out what kind of decision boundary is suitable for your specific experiment. So basically my point is, whenever we are dealing with real life data, so we have no idea what kind of decision boundary we should use. But one idea we will have, it should not be a linear decision boundary. It will be a plane. So it is better you can use this one or this one. So it is up to you. And try to understand, to find out the outcome, it is also important. So what is this? These are the outputs generated after 500 epochs. And now we have to plot the error values that we have after each and every epoch. Means it is also important while classification to track the errors after each and every epoch. So track error on the per epoch basis. So this is a binary cross entropy error during the training, and this graph shows that it is comparatively good one. So try to understand whenever you are performing any classification, try to visualize the decision boundary, and also you have to track and plot the loss function. Here I'm using binary cross entropy function, but in case of real life data set you may have any other kind of loss function. That is, for any time series forecasting, people will prefer to use RMSE, root mean square error, and the loss function will be tracked as MAC, mean square error. And at this point of time, again you have to plot per epoch what is the status of the loss, or what is the status of the error. So this is the basic thing that I have discussed today.